Okay, everybody, welcome to yet another session of Diplomacy Direct's Expert Talks. Today we today we have honor to have Major General Amitabh Joshi with us, who was the Additional Director of Military Intelligence. He was the advisor to the Army Chief at Army Headquarters level for matters of military information intelligence, defense, and cybersecurity. Major General Joshi is decorated with the Vishishta Seva Medal for his distinguished service of high order, 4 times recipient of Chief of Army Staff Commendation Card Award, and 2 times General Officer Commanding in Chief Commendation Card Award. So, welcome, General Joshi.
Thank you. So nice.
So today we are going to take an overview of the current Taliban in governance now in Afghanistan, and the framework, the situation, the fragility of the entire view. So basically, Taliban's existence has come from the Afghan warlordism leading to conflicts and fragility in the country. The USSR in Afghanistan, the US supported Mujahideen-led offensive under the great names like Lion of Panjshir, Ahmad Shah Massoud in 1990s, and then the defiance of USSR era brought for the for and against politics, the warlord politics of these Mujahideen commanders, and basically this has over the time led to various factions, and which aided in the formation of Taliban going ahead, which ruled Afghanistan from 1996 until 2001, until the US got in Afghanistan to fight terror after the 9/11 attacks, and then Taliban brewing away for 20 years, resisting here and there. And now, after this takeover again, now Marshal Abdul Rashid Dostum, the infamous warlord of the northern Afghanistan, declares his offensive in his home province of Jawzadan to support the fight against Taliban alongside Ahmad Shah Massoud Jr. With Amarullah Saleh's political will. So, putting all these things in perspective until now, General Joshi, could you take us over from here for the turn of events until now in brief?
Certainly. Very nicely covered. I will just try and put in perspective what is the geography of Afghanistan and how the events have unfolded till now. So, number of points you have already covered. I'll just put them in perspective. You see, Afghanistan is a very big landlocked country. It is 1/4 the size of India.
Yep.
650,000 square kilometers is the area of Afghanistan. And the population is just about 3 crore 60 lakhs. So while the area is large, population is less. It is arid country with a lot of mountains and very treacherous landmass. 42% approx people of Afghanistan are below poverty line. The literacy rate is very low, just about 35% on an average. And women literacy rate is even lower, which is to the tune of 20% or so. So we see a country which has got rugged terrain, large areas, tracts which are not occupied areas, illiterate people, poor people. So this is the current situation of Afghanistan. But this was not so earlier. In early 70s, late 60s, Kabul was one of the very good and happening towns those days. You'll be surprised.
Mhm.
that in Kabul University, the girls used to go and study higher studies, and
Mhm.
they used to wear skirts.
Mhm.
Those days, skirts was not common in India.
Mhm.
Leave aside any other Muslim country.
Mhm.
But in Afghanistan, people were quite liberal and I would say secular,
Ahead of their times.
ahead of their times. So
Yeah.
was in Lebanon, so was in Beirut. But over time, things have changed. And somehow or the other, the communist leanings started in Afghanistan,
Mhm.
which led to emergence of two parties. One is Khalaq Party, another was Parcham Party.
Mhm.
And these two parties were about to usurp power in, in the time period of 1977, 78, 79. And this was happening because of Russian influence, of course. The Leninist and Marxist leanings were taking place that time.
Mhm.
Those days, Cold War scenario, wherever USSR, USA can be far behind. So USA steps in
Mhm.
to take charge of or to contain the situation, so to say, that Afghanistan falling into the hands of USSR that time.
Mhm.
What happens is it gives emergence of mujahids. First time the word was coined mujahids.
Mhm.
And the initial start of, you can say, terrorism of Islamic nature with Islamic fundamentalistic ideas came
Mhm.
into being.
Mhm.
What was happening at that time? Pakistan, the Ziaul Haq with his thought of Islamic, making a Pakistan an Islamic country,
Mhm.
Bhutto had already given way. So all those things happened, and the thought process of Pakistan was to how to punish India, and for that they wanted Afghanistan in their back door and started doing this business of mujahids.
Mhm.
Money was US, Saudi Arabia, and US were providing funds. Training started in Pakistan
Mhm.
with ISI, and Pakistan Army provided training to mujahids.
Mhm.
There was no dearth of manpower because there were poor, illiterate people both sides.
Mhm.
Basically, they started that time training Pashtuns. Now, Pashtun is a community which is living alongside Durand Line. Durand Line
Mhm.
is a line which divides Afghanistan and Pakistan.
Mhm.
This Pashtun community is living on both sides of the border of Durand Line. So this, and having marriages and having social ties either sides of the border. So the start of Mujahideen happened that time in
Mhm.
1970. To contain the situation, 24th December 1979, Russia moves in, crosses Amu Darya to move into Afghanistan and take charge of the situation.
Mhm.
And for 10 years, Mujahids keep fighting Russians. Finally, Russians leave in 1989. Whatever happens to Afghanistan, let it be. They withdraw because their own problems in USSR were growing.
Mhm.
So they did not want any appendix of problems. This was in favor of US,
Mhm.
and the ally of US at that time, the best ally, best friends were Pakistan
Pakistan.
and US. And in this bargain, now Mujahids grew, terrorism started, and
Mhm.
other people joined in. Money
Mhm.
was there, arms were there. The Russian army also left huge quantity of arms and
Mhm.
arsenal.
Mhm.
This was taken over by them. And that's how slowly Mujahids became jihadist. Taliban came into being.
Mhm.
From that period on, 1989 onwards, as you just said, that till 94, 95, 96, Taliban came into rule to on Afghanistan. The warlords were there fighting each other. Whosoever is the more powerful, he became the ruler.
Correct.
So 2001, we find finally Taliban has taken over Afghanistan, and we will not go into detail what atrocities they committed that time. What point to note is that what has happened in these years of 5-6 years preceding the Taliban rule and during Taliban rule, the international terrorism, jihadi terrorism, Islamic terrorism, whatever you call it, grew multifold. They got more weapons, they got more money, they got more manpower, they got fighters from all over the world. Right from Chechnya to China to Sri Lanka to India to Bangladesh, you name it, that country was involved. Palestine, Syria, Iran, Iraq, anybody and everybody was gravitating towards Afghanistan. For what? Jihad. What is that jihad, and jihad is against who? Only they know it. And as you said earlier, 9/11 happened. Al-Qaeda came into being. Where was Al-Qaeda leader trained? He was trained in US. Where was he hiding? In Pakistan. Who killed it? Who killed him? US. 2011, they killed Osama bin Laden. 2001, they stepped into Afghanistan when they first bombed the country. And for 10 years, they were fighting the so-called jihadists. Once they had killed the Osama bin Laden, they started thinking, why stay in Afghanistan? What is the point? Russia had by then gone out of this scene. There was nothing much to fight as far as America was concerned. To their thinking, they had contained the Islamic terrorism. Whatever happened in Iran, Iraq, ISIS, Syria, it is one part. We will not dwell upon it. We know it. So what we see that from 2014 onwards, America started thinking of withdrawal. Trump held on because he wanted to fight. Came Mr. Biden and he wanted to withdraw. He withdrew the US forces without any understanding as to how Afghanistan will survive here and after. But this statement of mine is also not 100% correct, because he was given the understanding that here is more than 360,000 Afghan nationals, which are Afghan National Army and security forces. They will look after their country and they will be able to fight off Taliban, Mujahids, or whomsoever. And we will keep funding them. We will pump in money. They will fight.
Yeah.
But as they say that you plan something and happens something else. Similarly here also.
There was money but no morale.
No morale. So within very short duration, when they decided that they will withdraw, you find that Taliban has moved in. And today, within say about just 3, 4, 5 months, Taliban is well entrenched into Afghanistan and has formed a nation and is trying to rule the country today. America has withdrawn fully. Who is looking after today? Turkey is being brought in to secure the so-called Kabul airport. Now we all know what are Turkey's leaning and how Turkey has been behaving towards Islamic terrorism and West. But beggars can't be choosers. They are the only ones today who are there.
Yeah, and with Turkey going again towards the neo-Ottomanism, it's some situation there. Yeah,
it is a tricky, very tricky situation. People, those who are into it can understand. Normal person will not be able to understand which are the linkages at which all places. Correct. It is massive. But I would just say that all the terrorist groups are linked. They may name anything. They may be affiliated to anybody, but somehow the wires are linked here and there. Too many people ask question that why Afghanistan army succumbed. It was 360,000 and the reports coming in were that Taliban is just about 50, 60,000, 70,000 at best. So why such a large army has succumbed with all the arsenal or the modern equipment available to them? One must understand the psyche of Afghans. As you said, Afghan is a war-torn country and in the last 50 years they have been fighting. They are warlords. Whosoever has got more weapons, more strength is the person. So the weaker party joins him or has to fight or get killed. So the Afghan side today is let's survive to fight another day. So whomsoever they find is more powerful, they try and back him instead of backing their own thoughts, oblique lines of understanding or their belief. It changes as per the power shift. One point. Second point is today Afghanistan is one of the very, very corrupt countries. I think one or two countries are only below it, Chad and some other country. It is ranking one of the top most corrupt country in the world. So the money changes hand and the warlords exchange money and they change their loyalties from one to other. So this is another part. So these two things, corruption and this kind of thought process that we should change sides, is the reason why entire army has just not fought and has given way to Taliban. Afghanis will fight other people. They hate, they dislike other people coming to Afghanistan and ruling them. But within Afghanistan, they're okay. As long as a guy is Afghani, they're fine with it. He may be anybody. He may be a Pashtun, he may be a Tajik, he may be
Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Uzbek, anybody.
Anybody. But he should be Afghan.
Yeah.
One point I just missed out. Afghan, the population division of Afghan is Pashtuns are approximately 45+%, close to 50%. But another 45-50% are Uzbeks, and Tajiks first, about 25-29%. Then are Uzbeks, then are Hajaras, and then are others, some Shias. Earlier on in 70s, the Sikh and Hindu population in Afghanistan was about 9%. Today, they are saying 1%, but I don't. Who has done any kind of survey? Nobody. And well, as we all know, thousands of years behind, Afghanistan was a Hindu country.
Buddhism and Hinduism. Yeah.
Yeah, Bamia Buddhas.
Yeah.
You know that. Bamia Buddhas are there. And Gandhari was from Kandahar. Shakuni was from the Prince of Kandahar. Afghanistan. So this is the historical background and today's situation. So
basically the kingdom of Kandahar, now that you bring it up, was from Kandahar to the modern day Pakistan, a lot of part of Pakistan, up to Peshawar. So that was the span of that kingdom.
Absolutely correct. It was all Hindu country. The Britishers divided India in three parts. Pakistan, Punjab, Pakistan, that was India. In 1947, now we know Pakistan. If people go back in history, it was India, yes or no? Bangladesh. So at some point in time, Afghanistan went out of India. In 1947, Pakistan went out of India. Bangladesh went out of India in 71 or 47, whichever way you want it. So this is how is the historical perspective, and I wanted to just bring out how things have unfolded and what is the situation today in Afghanistan. So today we see Islamic rule, Taliban rule in Afghanistan, and the events I have already narrated. Yes.
Okay. So now let us talk a bit more into will and capacity of Taliban. So the Cigar report says that the Taliban made revenue of estimated 1.5 billion annually. So you covered the point about economics over the religion or the religion-driven radicalism, but that's aside. The revenue plays a vital role here. So 1.5 billion annually in the earlier 2019, and a recent estimates say that the annual exports of opium are easily upwards of 2.5 billion worldwide. Now, drug trade being the 60% of the annual revenue, employing more than 120,000 Afghans for cultivation, it makes it as a national occupation and a cash crop, right? Then money coming. So mineral and precious metal mining makes an annual 100 million for Taliban as per the UN Analytical Support and Sanctions Monitoring Report, right? They say that Taliban received more than, so now we are talking about smaller denominations. So somewhere around 10 million per year from 25 to 30 illegal mining operations in southern Helmand province. And then they are making 4 to 5 million only by selling and rerouting electricity, taxing the truckers, taxing the infrastructure projects, and then many more, right? Many enterprises that they operate. Now, illegal arms dealing will be added to the portfolio very soon, right? Now, with all this money, the Taliban maintained estimated 70,000 to 100,000 fighters. Now the number has increased to estimated 200,000 to 300,000 with defected members of the US trained Afghan military with their military equipments and everything, with vehicles, technologies that the US has left behind, and others that they are, getting funded and supported by likes of Turkey, China, Russia, you name it, and everybody is in there right now. And all this doesn't seem to stop. So, General Saab, can you bring out the capability of Taliban at the present, and what does it translate for India?
Very nicely brought out, and you have covered many facts. Good question. If we say strength of Taliban, we have to understand it in few headings. One is the physical strength of fighters. The second is the arsenal available to them, the war machinery available to them. And to sustain these fighters and war machinery, what is the funding available to them? And not to forget, now Taliban also has a country. Very, very important point. It was a rogue element. It was a terrorist group. Now it has a country to itself. Strength of Taliban, let's first take that. Earlier in 2016 and 17, people used to talk about 35,000, 40,000 Taliban are present in Afghanistan. US Army was in force and fightings were going on. So, as I earlier brought out, they are very smart people. They change side as per the power equation change. So that time Taliban was on the back foot. Pakistan was under pressure by US not to support Taliban. So Taliban was high and dry. Situation changed when US started planning to move out and started thinning out. Slowly and steadily, the strength of Taliban grew. And you very rightly said it, by about end of 19, beginning 20, they were about 50, 60, 70,000, and which grew by the turn of end of 20, 70, 80,000. And that's when they started moving in and start taking control of various districts of Afghanistan. Slowly but steadily. And today, they had given a very nice propaganda. You must understand this, how the terrorists are using this aspect of propaganda. They said that either they gave this propaganda to the Afghanistan National Army, that if you want to survive, join us or get killed. So after all, whosoever is in the army, their kith and kin, their family is in the villages or in the various places and far off places. They cannot safeguard those. So this pressure tactics was applied, and Afghan army succumbed. So today, if we see, as I had earlier said, and you also very correctly brought out, the strength of Taliban could be anything 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh. So having seen the physical strength, now coming on to the arsenal. Approximately 70,000 or so vehicles, number of various trucks, jeeps, vehicles have been left by the forces, US forces and allied forces.
Mm-hmm.
Some 1,75,000 communication equipment, various kind of surveillance equipment, communication equipment, radio set pieces and things like that have been left. Similarly, what Taliban was lacking so far was aircrafts and helicopters. Mm-hmm. 208 pieces of helicopters, aircraft, fixed wing aircrafts have been left. So similarly, tanks, guns, things like that. And the best part is that more than 6 lakh small arms, that is rifles, sniper rifles, pistols, Kalashnikov, has been left over there. Not that Taliban had any dearth of arms. Pakistan was supplying, China was supplying, money was coming, they were buying it from various places. But now that item or that arsenal is in abundance and freely available to them.
Mm-hmm.
So all this will find place somewhere or the other. Where will it be? Only in the vicinity, nearby countries.
Correct. To go out and get either reversed engineered for maintenance and spares. It may go out for a better versioning of the same equipment, or even to understand what is the capability and capacity of that technology, so that if it is countered sometime later in other war theater somewhere, it can be well countered.
Yes, you're right. The only good point is that do not have anti-air missiles because US was not using them. They were not requiring them. So that is one good part. Cannibalization of weapons will take place. Now, you see in Ilaka-e-Gair, since I have been dealing with this subject for a very long time, I know very precisely and very correctly that there are factories, there are people who are manufacturing weapons in Ilaka-e-Gair area called in Pakistan, on the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan.
It's called the AK-47 capital of the world.
Yes, you may name it anyway, but the point remains that they can make even a machine gun over there. So all these equipment which is lying over there will get cannibalized and will be used somehow or the other in various places. But yes, having said that, let's also understand that electronic equipment, very sophisticated vehicles, their spare parts and their maintenance may be an issue. Let's see how it comes up. But may be an issue, may not be an issue. Initially, they may find it difficult to use them, but later on, they will find a way to make use of all this equipment which is lying. Coming on to we have tackled the arsenal, we have tackled the strength. Coming on to the funds. As you very correctly said that now they have got funds of various types. Drugs. 90% of opium in the world is produced in Afghanistan. And entire money will come to them only. They will only give peanuts to the people who are producing it.
Yeah. Actually, they are taxing the purification laboratories in upwards of 20-25% of their production. So not only the supply chain is getting set up, it's coming up, and it's again reverse taxed for the gain of the Taliban regime.
In 99-2000, the production of opium had increased by 40%. I'm sure this time it will increase by 60%. $300 million is the trade of opium annually. So you take out 50 million, 200 plus millions will go to Taliban without any. 2 billion assets Taliban is already having. That's what are the reports talking about. So much of funds available with them, and countries like various countries which are already trying to give support to Taliban will start funding for various reasons. To Afghanistan, when they fund Afghanistan, of course, some of money will find its place to Taliban. Some may go for other works also. I'm not denying that. The two basic routes of opium trade are Balkan route and Russian route. Balkan is via Iran, Iraq, and finally Turkey, and finally it goes to Germany. And the Russian route is via Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Eastern European countries and Russian European countries. So this is how the money spinning is going on for Taliban. They got no dearth of funds. Besides that, I'll cover a little later, the amount of resources in Afghanistan, the rare earth materials, the energy in car countries, oil, the gas, and such kind of things are already there. So they will mine and they will start making use of them. One more point is that in Pule-Charkhi, there is a prison called Pule-Charkhi near Kabul, which was housing 7,000 dreaded Taliban people who were arrested by US during the course of this jihad fight. They have been released, and now they are with the Taliban. So now what we see the strength, one which is trained by US itself, the ground soldiers, the mid-level and senior level hierarchy is coming out from Pule-Charkhi, 7,000 dreaded Taliban who were already doing something in past, and the Taliban leadership which was there, 60,000, 70,000, 1 lakh, whatever is the strength. So this is a very, very deadly and heady combination of all the aspects.
So basically, I'm coming to that. So again, on this point, dialing back to the 1990s, and so India had her own concerns, right, about Taliban from the Mullah Rabbani-led Taliban back then. And when ISI was sourcing militants from Taliban, and when 10 to 15,000 fighters were demanded, Rabbani was ready to divert 100,000 towards Kashmir. And now coming to the present day scenario, like you rightly said, right? So Taliban has released several top, so Tariq-e-Taliban commanders, Al-Qaeda, ISIS terrorists from different Afghan cells, prisons. And they will do what they do the best always, right? So that all is going to boil down to a lot of escalated issues. Now, India was always been infiltrated by ISI-filled insurgents, terrorist groups, even before. Now that this has happened in the current scenario, it's no surprise that India is going to be now susceptible to increase influx of border crossing, militants, and subsequent terrorism activities. With this context, sir, can you give your thoughts on the geopolitical scenario and the Islamic terrorism around Afghanistan, India, and overall globally?
Absolutely. This is, you have touched a hornet's nest here. As I had said, that Afghanistan is a very large country and it is landlocked. It's got boundaries with 6-7 nations. To be precise, it has got boundary of 2,430 kilometers with Pakistan. That's the largest boundary it has. Then 1,206 kilometers with Tajikistan. Some 936 kilometers with Iran, 744 kilometers with Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, and 137 kilometers with Uzbekistan. It has a boundary with POK that could have been India of about good about 100 plus kilometers.
The Wakhan corridor.
Wakhan corridor falls today with China, and they are using it. They have put a brigade there to block, which is about 18 kilometers at the widest and about 34-35 kilometers long. Finger jets into Aksai Chin area, and that is how the Wakhan, that's called Wakhan corridor in China, and that is how China is having its links with POK and to Afghanistan.
The Xinjiang province.
In Xinjiang province. So this is how the boundaries are. And mind you, none of the boundaries here are having any much of a fencing. It is only in places, other places it is not there. So it is not like J&K border where there is fencing and you can have some semblance of security over there. And all the borders are not even guarded. So there are large tracts of areas which are vacant, and
susceptible to infiltration. Yeah,
anybody can move across those areas, whichever. Now, since you asked that what is the scenario with Afghanistan and what is the geopolitical scenario with various countries, so let's see all the countries which India and Afghanistan are having close to their borders and having stakes with. Firstly, we'll talk about Pakistan. So 2,400 kilometers of border, half of it is not having any fencing or any worthwhile fencing, I would say. Pashtun is the community which is a larger portion staying, and they are crossing borders on either side. Taliban hierarchy is mostly Pashtuns. Tehreek-e-Taliban is one group which is fighting against Pakistan army, and they want Pashtunistan, which is again cousin brother of Taliban. While Pakistan has, we all know Pakistan has been supporting Mujahids, whether it was Mullah Omar who was trained, whether it was Osama bin Laden who was trained in US itself and was staying in Pakistan. So you name it, all the terrorist leaders or Islamic terrorist leaders have been having association with Pakistan and being trained at Pakistan. Various training camps are on. The reports which I was reading just yesterday are that Pakistan has already started shifting terrorist camps from Pakistan land to Afghanistan. So they have got a terrorist country now. So they can do any of those things. Who will challenge? Whether it is Lashkar-e-Taiba, whether it is Jaish-e-Mohammed, you call it
Harkatul Ansar, Taliban.
You call it by any name. There are more than 300 terrorist groups.
Yeah.
The point to understand here is they are all linked within. Somewhere or the other, the linkages are having. Only thing is, for various reasons, for various sanctions, for funding purposes, for various purposes, they keep changing the names, and the names are different. But the bottom line is that they are Islamic terrorists. They are anti-India. They are anti-Hindu. They are anti anything which is there other than Sharia or other than Islam. For them, anything.
And their flavor of Sharia, not the original flavor.
Whichever flavor it is not a good flavor. The reports are coming in that they are chopping hands of women and putting those hands in. They have chopped off hands of 3 girls. So, I mean, what kind of law, what kind of understanding of law is this? Only they can explain. Whatever it is this. We have seen it in past. We will see it in future also. What people are talking that this Taliban is different. Sorry, there is no difference. If it is Sharia, Sharia is only one.
Yeah.
And that is Sharia. There is no logic there. There is no understanding of it. There is no interpretation. It is only one. So we will not talk about it. Now, what we see that while all this is happening in Afghanistan, what are the situation between Pakistan and Afghanistan? While Pakistan has been supporting Afghanistan and Taliban right through and all the terrorists, but there are problems here. As I said, the Tehreek-e-Taliban doesn't recognize Durand Line, and they want Pashtunistan. So there is a Shia terrorist groups who are getting funded via Iran and getting support from Iran to fight against Sunnis. Their number is less, their strength is less, their support is less, but there is a group. So what I'm trying to say here is that all these fightings will take place, whether it is in Pakistan, whether it is in Afghanistan. Wait and watch, situation is going to get worse. So plus the relationship with Pakistan and China is also very tricky, because China has been trying to blame Pakistan for Uyghurs and the Xinjiang province and the Uyghur movement, but they have been saying it in low voice because they want support of China because of the $60 million of expenditure that they have incurred, 60 billion that they are planning to incur
on the CPEC,
on the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very delicate and tricky situation for the nations like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and China. All three are friends also, but they are enemies within also. So it is just a marriage of convenience and not of ideology, neither of any thought process. It is just because at present they need them. Coming on to Tajikistan, I'll just go over country by country.
Sure.
I'll touch about all the countries almost. Tajikistan. Now, Tajikistan is having, as I said, the population distribution of Afghanistan. About 25% of population of Tajikistan is Tajiks, and they are from Tajikistan. Mostly, the Tajiks are staying in Panjshir Valley, which is a valley which is being today the ex-vice president Mr. Saleh is defending and is heading the so-called resistance movement against Taliban. He's got 20,000 plus fighters. The total population of Panjshir Valley is about 1 lakh. Some people are supporting these Tajikistan. How long can they support? What all can they support? How long with Mr. Saleh and his party will last? It's only time can tell. We cannot guess that. But the point which we see here is Tajikistan is also very, very skeptical. And it has gone to Russia. Russia and Tajikistan has formed kind of understanding. Some 6,000 troops of Russia has placed in Tajikistan on the border. They have provided $1.1 million to create fence emergency in quick time and also establish post on Afghanistan-Tajikistan border. How it unfolds, we'll need to see. Already they are good about a large number of 1.1 million of Tajiks are taking refuge in Tajikistan, and these things will create problems. They have got weapons. This fighting is in their culture, so now they'll keep fighting. Whichever infight take place will be problematic to that country. It will not remain peaceful, and it will spill over to other countries. It cannot be only restricted to that geographical area. Now, Uzbekistan. There are about 3.5 plus million people, Uzbeks, in Afghanistan. a very quirky turn of events. Uzbekistan has said they will not allow a single refugee inside. They have closed their borders. Now, where will these Uzbeks go? They are not with, so they are finding alliance either with Tajiks or they will go with Taliban. They got no choice. So, this problem is with Uzbekistan and Uzbeks. Uzbekistan again is trying to get its security apparatus horned by China as well as by Russia. So they are seeking help. Coming down to Iran, as I said, Iran is supporting the Shia population. It has already taken more than 3 million refugees over a period of time, and a long time. They are supporting monetarily, training, and various other ways to Shias. Iran is also a major route of opium trade, which Taliban would require. So they will have to make friends with Taliban, with Iran, though it is a so-called enemy country. So very precarious and tricky situations with each of the country. While they ethnically they are same, but they will not be. They are not coming together in that manner the way they should. China. Well, China, as we all know, is one country which only looks after its own interest. To hell with others. His interest is twofold in Afghanistan. One is, as I said, the rare earth material and other minerals that is used for high-end batteries, and also in AI and the chips to make AI chips, high-end chips. So it is the more than 1 trillion worth of these kind of minerals are there in Afghanistan, which China wants to mine. So his interest is somehow he was getting some access earlier. He should keep getting that access to mine these minerals. Plus, he wants to keep car countries also in its fold for two reasons. One is, again, the Belt and Road Initiative. Second, it is a market. $2.5 billion market is there in car countries for China. The trade is happening. And third, the most important of all is the energy. Some 5 trillion cubic meters of gas is available in car countries. That is as per the assessments. And some 400 or 500 million barrels of oil is available. So China, one more very interesting point. China has got very huge reserves of oil and gas, you know that. But it is not taking out even one single barrel of it. It is only taking out from other countries. Either he is taking out by fair means or unfair means. But it is buying from or taking it away from various countries. So his interest in car countries is this, car countries and Afghanistan. Plus, he wants to keep Pakistan also on its side. He has a problem of, in Xinjiang region, Uyghurs, the 3-4 terrorist group of Uyghurs are being trained in Pakistan. He knows that. Now they will get further training in Afghanistan and Pakistan put together. Now Pakistan will have an ally and a very easy kind of you say that it was not me, it was Afghanistan or it was Taliban. So he can pass the blame on to some other people. So this is the state of China. Again, a tricky situation. On one side, this is happening. On second side, he has gone in the secret pact with the countries like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, and Russia. So secret security pact has taken place already in this just about 1 week time. Now we
Okay.
talk about Saudi Arabia has been funding $3 billion US dollars money has been provided to Pakistan and Afghanistan in last about 10-15 years by Saudi Arabia. Turkey is providing support both ways, political support and also to radicalize people they are supporting. And this radicalization is for all India, Hindu, West, Christian, anybody and everybody. So it is not that this will affect only India and will affect other countries also. What happened in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, absolutely. And seconding to your point here is now these things will give a kind of a validation to all the terrorist groups. So we are looking at Hamas in Palestine. We are looking at smaller factions of Islamic resistance in even smaller or unrelated countries like Burkina Faso, somewhere. So yeah, I know, I understand where you're coming from.
Yes. So this Russia again is skeptical what will happen and will the terrorism move into Russia, which they are skeptical about. They are fighting this Islamic terrorism themselves. So if you see now coming to India per se, what would happen? The previous rule of Taliban, insurgency not started, it got aggravated in Jammu and Kashmir and other parts of India. So many bomb blasts took place. Maybe something similar will happen now also. So India has to be very, very careful. On one side, India has provided $3 billion US dollars worth of infrastructural aid to Afghanistan in these past years. It has got more than 400 projects running in Afghanistan. Road, making hospitals, schools, making the parliament, dams, electricity supply, and this, that, railways, many things. So all this is happening. 40 to 50,000 Afghanistan refugees have come to India in these past years, and they are still maybe coming. So India is in a very delicate situation today. Pakistan, China is hobnobbing with Afghanistan and Taliban. India is on the side. So India has to tread very carefully, keeping all these aspects in mind. We will touch it a little later. Another country which we should talk about is Nepal. Over a period, Nepal has got distance away from India. Today, Nepal is one of the largest ISI and Islamic terrorist hub. You'll be surprised to know that. 97% of Muslim population of Nepal is living in 5 districts of Nepal, which are in the Tarai region of Nepal, which are bordering Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and West Bengal. More than 1 lakh people of Nepal have got converted into Islam in last 10 years. People don't talk about these figures. You will not get them very easily. But I'm telling you this is what is happening. Bangladesh. There are 37 Islamic terrorist groups in Bangladesh today. There may be more, 37 which we know of. And they are fighting against the Bangladesh government. They are fighting against India. They are fighting against anybody and everybody. Their leaders have been trained in Pakistan. The Islamic terrorist group of Rohingyas in Myanmar has been trained by Pakistan. He is also fighting in Myanmar and also will fight India. Sri Lanka, we just spoke what has happened. We all know it is not very far past. 300 people got killed on that Easter Sunday, Islamic terrorism. India had given this information to Sri Lanka, but they could not get their act together. So this is the situation of all the neighboring countries of India and Afghanistan. It is very tricky, very precarious. Already things are happening of grave nature in these countries. India has to be very, very careful in dealing. I'll just touch upon one BBC report which had come. They had done a research and they said that in 2017, some 3,670 attacks had taken worldwide as Islamic terrorist attacks. That is almost more than 11 attacks per day.
Wow.
And in 2019, only in first 2 months, 5,020 attacks took place. So this is the type of thing we are talking which had happened in past. Now that they have got a full country to themselves and an alibi,
this is going to just extrapolate.
This is just going to increase. This is the point I'm trying to make here. So this is how the situation today exists in our neighborhood for India. So this brings a very graver revelation to everybody, right? And that's why analysts like me and experts like you must have these kind of potent talks so that the global community knows what's going on. Anyways, so you touched base upon this point where they will have to cut some deal. The Taliban will have to cut some deal with Iran, and with 940 kilometers of border and everything. So even them being a hardline Sunnis and fundamentally against the Shias. Now we also spoke about some factions in Sharia. So there are total six factions in Sharia. 5 are Sunni factions, and there is one dominant Shia faction of Sharia. So looking at the extremist version of the Hanafi school of Sharia, it's been very flexible version of Sharia, which was originally built for consensus and independent reasoning, which Taliban and other factions and terrorist groups have exploited historically to bend it into public policy and global non-existence formalizations to the ruling convenience as and when they will, right? Looking at this framework of hardline governance, what implications now do you see over the time? So from now on in Afghanistan under Taliban rule, what are the implications that we can expect? Yeah, before I talk about implications, you just mentioned that Sharia and how they believe in that. The blast that took place on Kabul airport, which killed 90 plus people, was by ISK. Now, what is ISK? It is IS Khorasan. What is Khorasan province? Earlier, where the Sharia originated was from this Khorasan province, in which Afghanistan, Pakistan, and entire North and East India, right up till Bangladesh and parts of Myanmar, going right into Iran and beyond, is Khorasan province. So this is what is the thought that at some point in time in future, this will be the first phase of Khalifa. That is what they call Khalifa movement, where the Islamic rule will happen, and later on they will move on to the entire world.
The Grand Caliphate.
Caliphate. So this is what the Caliphate movement. So now they have already started talking about ISK, Khorasan province chahiye. So when you talk about all this, anything and everybody is their enemy who is not Muslim. They'll keep fighting amongst themselves also. They are fighting with Shias, but then they say that Shias are not pure Muslims, only Sunnis are. So various factions are there. We'll leave it at that. It may take days if we start talking about it. coming on to the implications, more important. You see, as you earlier had brought out, the belief that now they can have a country and believe that one Taliban group, if they can win, so can we. So anybody in every small group or big group, capable group or non-capable group, they are taking, they are celebrating it, and they are taking, getting emboldened, they are getting moral boost, and they are getting psychological ascendancy over their respective governments, their respective people. So this is what is given them a tremendous moral boost to any and every terrorist organization in the world. As I earlier said, that now they also have a country, which is which would be the most likable destination for any other terrorist. Correct. So all he has to do is somehow reach Afghanistan and he is in heaven. And all kinds of resources are available, whether it is numbers, whether it is money, whether it is arsenal, all things is available to them today. The only thing is they may have to ship it to their respective countries, but they have a support base, whether it is psychological or material. All the support base is available to them. Plus, they got leadership. They got middle level leadership. They got higher level leadership, and they got war experience also. So anything and everything that is required is available to them as on today. And this is a tremendous moral booster to all of them. It causes a very, very severe security concern to all the nations, not only nations which are closer by, but nations which are far in the west also.
So basically, this mimics the very sentiment after the Vietnam War, where a small country can defeat a bigger power, and then the other countries, those who went into a independence or a non-cooperation movement kind of a thing. Again, that sentiment was different in terms of struggle. But today, like you rightly said, so Islamic State, so the ISIS, they will create their own, belief system of getting in power. We can see some really strong problems getting created, issues getting created in the Gaza, where Hamas is operating, so on and so forth. So, what are the primary issues that you think will be faced by India in the near future? What should the government consider on priority? Also, what are the diplomatic and military options available to India, and how should we exercise them?
Very pertinent question. But before I answer this, let me also touch upon why America has withdrawn. People have been asking this. America came in for a purpose over there. One, to take revenge of their attack, and they wanted to kill Osama bin Laden, which they did. Second, they wanted to curb the Islamic terrorism. They achieved to a certain extent, but then they realized we are too far away for this. Why muddle into somebody else's affairs? Economy of US is going down. They were having problems. Earlier there was USSR. That's why America has perforce had to muddle into Afghanistan affairs. Today the situation has changed. So why unnecessarily drain resources in a country like Afghanistan? Let it is a problem of West Asia. Let them get sorted. Let them sort it out for themselves. Why should we sort out the problem of this? Point number one. Point number two. If they leave Afghanistan, who will come into fray? It is Russia, China, and India. US is if not, who is in competition with US? China, Russia, and maybe far below in line India. By moving out of Afghanistan, what have they achieved? They have embroiled China, who was only looking after its own interests. Now he has to do something about it. If he wants to be a global power, there's one thorn onto China. Russia will get involved through car countries or otherwise. India will, in any case, get involved. So India will not grow out of its shoes. It will remain with US per force. So they have played their cards well. We shall not blame them. Well, it has created chaos. That was the intention. Why would they create peace in West Asia? Let the chaos happen and let Asian countries fight for wherever they want, whatever way, whichever they want. So this is their thought process, which, if you come to think of, arguably, it is in their interest. It is in American interest. Why should they drain out their economy fighting? But to what gain? Well, Islamic terrorism will get boost. They will spread further. We'll see what happens later on. Let Germany, let UK, let car countries, let China, let India, let Russia fight all that. When it comes to Canada, when it comes to America, we will see. This is one school of thought. Yes or no?
Correct.
So this is what is their way of thinking. And that is why they have left. We may criticize America, fine. We are at liberty.
No, and a point to that also is, if the strategic or the analyst community knew that this is happening, they could have thought on the other point that there will be a day where America will leave. Right? Point number one. Point number two, if they are asserting a certain kind of force, there should have been a part where we should have known, including India, that right now would have been the right time to go in, make a stronger deterrent force, and uproot the entire, Taliban warlordism driven, the movement out of the region, and reinstate not only the army, but the entire social structure, the entire country. And that would have helped in the longer run. So India, like you rightly covered some time back, that India did some investments for infrastructure and other sorts of rehabilitation. But we should have also contributed in the military deterrence efforts.
Well, Vipul, you are right. But we are talking in retrospect. So one can always talk about these things. Absolutely. You cannot know what is going to unfold, how the future will unfold. Point number one. Point number two, India has done tremendous work in Afghanistan. I don't know whether you have visited the country or not. I have. So Afghanistan people, they have very, very big liking for India. They don't like Pakistan. They don't like China at all. But they don't like US also. But they love India and they love Indians. They have great respect for India. And it is across the board. The only thing is when the Kalashnikov is in his hand, then he only sees Hindu and Muslim.
Yeah.
This is the problem. But
so looking India from a diplomatic and military perspective, so what are our options right now?
Yeah, options available to India, to the way I look at it, are that we accept this Taliban trio. When I say Taliban trio, Taliban, Pakistan, and China.
Yeah.
I mean, I may have gone beyond the correct words, but that's how is my personal feeling. It may not be correct to talk like that. But this trio is a deadly trio, and India accepted. This is one option. Second option could be that we support the Tajiks. Saleh has been there, and he's been good friend of Indian government, and so we support Tajiks, and we create a resistance movement in Afghanistan against Taliban. And the country which is already war ravaged, keep it war ravaged for another 10 years, 15 years, whatever time frame. And this is one second option. Third option could be we wait and watch, but then watch what and for how long, and how things will unfold, one can't say. So that is one third option available to us. And the fourth option is available is that we are already in UN in the this thing. So we create an environment in UN that sanctions are placed against Afghanistan and Taliban. UN peacekeeping force is sent into Afghanistan, and situation is somewhat contained, as you were trying to say, politically and militarily. We should engage Afghanistan, maybe, yes. And this is the time that we should pressurize other countries, not pressurize, convince other countries, okay, this is what the best option available in today's time. So these are
Sir, by far, you touched a very sensitive but a very crucial point, which I'm not hearing a lot of people out there talking, is about the UN peacekeeping forces. So until now, there's not even conversations happening about this. Do you see the UN Charter failing here somewhere?
Without doubt. What has UN done in any of the countries for that matter? What has UN done in JNK? There are people posted in JNK.
Yeah.
But what have they done? They keep moving from this part of Kashmir to Pakistan occupied part, and they keep moving up and down.
Sir, very opportune. It's very opportune you bring this topic, because few months back I did a session with Mr. Omkareshwar Pandey on the UN MOGIP, the observership in India and Pakistan. So yeah, I understand where you are coming from.
You see, in African countries, what is happening in UN missions? We are also sending, Indian Army is also sending a very large contingent to various countries. So in Palestine, what is happening? So UN has got its very limited kind of a role to play. But whatever, we can think on these lines and we can start making some efforts towards that side. So these are the options available today. And India has already taken initiative to yesterday, the meeting in Qatar. Our envoy, Mr. Mittal has gone and met the Taliban person, political head, not some sundry person. He has spoken to the so he's gone and met him, and whatever would have. I mean, we are trying to work out the on external fronts, on international scenario. India is doing fantastically well, I think. So we are doing our bit. How it unfolds, what happens, only time can tell.
So, sir, very quickly, as a summation of our conversation, what do you think is the way ahead from here?
Way ahead. Yeah, that is the bottom line. I mean, what to do?
Yeah.
On international front, as I had earlier brought, Russia has gone into some kind of a security understanding. Uzbek, Tajik, China, everybody has gone. India should also go in for international cooperation of int sharing and exchange of intelligence. And it may require for in future, any military adventure, then also it will help. So we should have parlays with all the car countries. We should have parlays with even Pakistan. We should have parlays with China and Russia, which we are having. With America, we cannot afford not to have ally. Similarly with UK and with Australia, which will provide us good intelligence. Israel, we are already having. So internationally, and the Taliban itself, Afghanistan itself, Iran, Muslim countries, Arab countries, you name it, and any and all countries we should have parleys with. One forum should be for all the rim countries, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, which are our next door neighbors, Myanmar. All these countries we should have a parleys with, and we should, in context with Taliban, we may have differences, but in context of Taliban, we must have parleys. We must have information exchange. International level, this way we should deal, which we are already doing. I'm not saying we are not doing. But at the same time, internally also we have to get our act together, which is not there. I'm sorry and feel very sad to say that. We talk about aid sharing. A lot of things, a lot of equipment is there. A lot of meetings take place, but actual aid sharing is less. And especially with states, CIDs and state IB, while international arena we have covered, the issues with an internal situation and internal aid sharing are little not up to the mark as it should be. The states like Kerala, the state CID, their own intelligence, their police, they must get their act together and must share the intelligence with all the neighboring states and the central agencies. States like Kerala, West Bengal, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, even Bihar, they all should get their act together, which are having more Muslim population or also having neighboring, the borders are touching the neighboring countries.
Correct.
These states must have their act together and must focus on not only the political issues, but national issues of security and intelligence, and that real-time aid sharing must take place within the internationally also and internally also. So interagency and intra-agency aid sharing is a most important thing today. Second, we should have the surveillance equipment of best nature which is available today in the world to counter aspects of whichever way the threat is coming towards India, whether it is through sea, air or land. We should have the best of the available equipment, the AI and best of the people doing the intelligence, mapping, analysis, collation, and creating a database wherein you can predict, you can analyze, and you can counter the threat which may come towards India. So this is my take on aspect of way ahead.
All right. So, sir, thank you so much for your time. We covered a broad spectrum of possibilities and counter moves. I will request all my viewers to think upon these points, and we will bring you eminent speakers and experts like General Joshi, as Diplomacy Director has always been doing. Please like and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, General Joshi. It was delightful having this conversation with you, sir.
Thank you. So nice. All the best. Take care.
Bye. Good day, sir.
Good day.